Well, hello there, my friends. I'm Joanne Jolie. It's Sunday evening in the United States, and I want to welcome you to our live stream, Encourage One Another. These few minutes are devoted to believing women of all ages. Some are going to fall into the TITUS 2 category of older women who are teaching younger women important things that they need to know. And the younger women, in fact, all of us, striving towards the model of that virtuous woman that we find in Proverbs 31. That woman has always been a model for me since my early teenage years. She's strong, she's successful by really any measure in her family. She's respected by her husband and her children. These are the people that know her very well. She's physically strong, she keeps up her strength, and she's busy from dawn's first light until the end of the day. She's very clever in business. She makes products, she sells them, she has earnings, and from there she makes an investment. In Proverbs 31, she invests in a vineyard, so you can assume that she'd probably sell wine as well. So she's very successful. She does tons of awesome things with all of this time and her strength and her intelligence. But above all, she fears the Lord, and because of that, she's worthy of praise. It's not all the great stuff that she does, and it is good and it is praiseworthy, but above all, she fears the Lord, and that's what is pointed out. And it's probably because that fear of the Lord that she is driven to make good use and to be a good steward of all of her time and all of the resources that God has given to her. Now, in that chapter, in the list of her strengths, one of them is verse 25, where she laughs at the days to come. Now, that seems to me, well, it seemed to me to be rather an unusual reaction to thinking about the future. Now, when people look at the future, they filter it through various things like perhaps their age, how long they've got to live, their mood, perhaps what's going on in the world, news and things like that. One response would be very optimistic, very hopeful about the things to come. You've got goals and dreams and you're working and things are going well, things are in your favor. Other times, people might feel worried. They might have anxiety. Things aren't going very well. There are struggles with things that are difficult, things that happen to all of us at various times in our life, like illnesses, accidents, loved ones pass away, there's divorce. All these sorts of things are quite upsetting to our plans and our happiness. There are people who are very pragmatic and they just got to get the things done and, make it happen. And there are other people that are very fatalistic, and they really can't think past the end of the day, and they don't really want to think about the future. It's just too much. I know people like that. But this woman, she laughs. She laughs at the future. And, my first thought would be, well, based upon the type of person she is, I would guess this laughing comes from a sense of confidence. She has prepared. Her family has good clothes and good food and so forth. That it's not really a denial that bad things can happen, but it's just a good feeling that she has prepared for whatever might happen that she can imagine. And preparation does really help to alleviate, worries, doesn't it? I remember, maybe you remember too, with COVID, where they said, just hunker down for a week. That's it. You'll be fine. So we ran out to the store and we got all the things that we might get for a couple of weeks, maybe a little bit more, just in case it went longer. So we felt good. We felt we're home. We've got enough to get us through a couple of weeks until this thing just blows over. But back to the woman laughing as a response, okay? I think there must be more to it. So, does God laugh? Well, yes, he does laugh. What makes God laugh? Most of the time, it's mockery. He's laughing in mockery. So let's look at some of the verses here. Psalm 2, verses 1 through 4. Why do the nations conspire and the peoples plot in vain? The kings of the earth rise up and the rulers band together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us break their chains and throw off their shackles. The one enthroned in heaven laughs. The Lord scoffs at them. So God's laughter here comes from the people who are making plots against him. They pose absolutely no threat to him whatsoever. And it's like, you're going to take on me. This is a joke. This is laughable. There's another one in Psalms 37, verses 12 and 13. The wicked plot against the righteous and gnash their teeth at them, but the Lord laughs at the wicked, for he knows their day is coming. Now, this laughter comes, I think, from a perfect perspective of things. He can see the beginning from the end. It's all right there laid out for him. the wicked really do think they can get away with things. I mean, if you've ever known a criminal, they don't believe they're going to get caught. That's why they keep going back to all this behavior. But again, it's laughable to God. In no way is that going to happen. So they're gnashing their teeth and they're carrying on, and God is just watching this in real time, their punishment. And it's just funny to him. Proverbs 1 speaks, this is wisdom speaking about mockers. Now, wisdom is with God, because Job 12:13 says, with God are wisdom and might. And Jesus is with God and is wisdom, because in 1 Corinthians 1:24 it says, Christ, the power of God and the wisdom of God. Right. So back to wisdom in Proverbs 1, this is what wisdom says. Since you disregard all my advice and do not accept my rebuke, I in turn will laugh when disaster strikes you. I will mock when calamity overtakes you like a storm. So if we consider a parallel between God's laughter and the laughter of the woman in Proverbs 31, they're both laughing about the same thing. They're laughing about the future. God is laughing because the future is fully known. It's fully governed by him and controlled. She's laughing because her future is entrusted to him. She fears him. So her laughter is really derived from trusting God, not from anything that she has done. Both the woman and God are not threatened by tomorrow. God is never anxious about anything. He's never rushed. He doesn't react to anything that happens, or he's not surprised. And the woman reflects that same posture. Again, feeling safety about the future is not all in her preparations, but it's by her faith in the power of God. When the woman laughs at the days to come, she's really agreeing with God's laughter and assessment of the future. God's not threatened, he's not surprised, justice will be done. God laughs because his purposes cannot fail, and she laughs because she belongs to him, and therefore nothing's going to fail. Her laughter is an echo of his laughter. Her laughter is an echo of his laughter because she's a woman who fears him. And I think that if we put our faith and our full trust in a future that's known by our God who loves us, that I think that we can laugh right along with him as well. So I have a Bible study tip for you this week. We talked, this one's about interpreting. How do we interpret the things that we're reading when we're not sure? And I'll tell you what it is. The best way to do that is to interpret Scripture with Scripture. Now, what that means is that the Bible is just going to explain itself. We don't have to rely upon, our own opinions of it. We don't have to rely upon what the traditions we were raised with that perhaps we've settled with and are comfortable with. We go to other scriptures to see what the overarching meaning is and to get the clarity. And we can do this because the Bible is a unified source. We know that it's written by a lot of different people over a lot of centuries, but the author, the source, is God himself. So all the themes, all of the truths are going to be consistent. God doesn't contradict himself. Cross-referencing is how we do this. You can have a concordance. It's a great tool where all the passages are listed if you want to look up a word or an idea. I will say that AI is getting better and better. I use that tool more and more. It's very good for getting the big picture from the scripture and putting the whole idea into perspective, and then launching into something. Like, for instance, I was just studying Acts 16 and Lydia. So I asked for every scripture on Lydia. So I was able to get a picture of what does the Bible say about this woman. And she was a successful businesswoman dealing in purple cloth. So then I went out and did a study, and I asked questions about, Thyatira, her city back in the first century, about that trade of dealing with the purple. And it was fascinating, very, very interesting, just to get an understanding more about who she was and what she did. So we are warned about AI, of course, and what I do and what I suggest you do if you're going to use that resource is to ask it to cite. So if it brings you some information, ask it to cite where it got it, because all it's doing is scanning the internet to find various bits of information. And then you can actually click on those links and you can go back and see where it came from and if you want to trust it. But really, overall, it's a marvelous resource. Now, I want to share with you a piece of news. This is from today, actually. This was a throwback to 2015. Let me add it to the stage here. Answers in Genesis sues Kentucky over the Ark Encounter. So this happened in 2015. The Ark Encounter is a corporation that was started by Ken Ham and his associates in the state of Kentucky. If you haven't heard of this, it's amazing. He built a replica, a life-size replica of Noah's Ark. And there's a lot of other things over there. The Museum of the Bible, I think, is there as well. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm planning to go there in the next year or two. A great place to take the kids to get an idea of what that boat was like. But what happened was that they were mistreated. Let's look at this article a wee bit. The Ark Encounter, Answers in Genesis, that's the business, sued Kentucky over the Christian apologetics group's Ark Encounter project for being excluded from a state rebate program. It was filed in the district court in Kentucky. The officials argued that Answers in Genesis was ineligible due to the Ark Encounter program having a religious preference, but the judge said no, ruled in favor of them, and concluded that the state had engaged in religious discrimination. This is an interesting little fact here. Answers in Genesis was represented, this would be the legal representation, in part by future US Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mike Johnson, in case you didn't know that. But anyway, so it's interesting because this week on the Morning Tea side of this channel, I did a piece just on this, on Christians involved in court and lawsuits. And the issue that came up was on the front page of my local newspaper. In Mesa, Arizona, there's a church called Apologia Church. And what they were doing was taking their congregants to court and suing them. And well, that's very, very unusual because most of the time, and there's plenty of them, lawsuits by congregants taking the leadership, abusive leadership, to court. So this stood out to me. Basically, you know, I'll put a link below if you want to learn more about that. But 1 Corinthians 6 says that it's absolutely forbidden. Believers do not take other believers to court. It's a shocking thing to do. But I do go on and talk about where it is right for believers to take others to court, and this is a good case, the Ark Encounter. And they were unjustly treated by their government, and the court system is the right and proper way to have those things repaired. And they did get the matter straightened out through the courts. So that's it. You know, in summary, the woman of Proverbs 31, who I hope you'll meditate on this week, she laughs. She laughs at the days to come, not because life is easy, not because everything's coming is going to be her way, but because God is faithful. Her laughter is quiet, it's confident, by a woman who fears God, and she knows that whatever comes, she's not going to face it alone. She's got a God she can trust. Her peace rests not in her controlling things, but in him who does hold the tomorrow. So have a blessed week, and I really hope that you can find laughter in your days ahead. See you next time.